Hello and welcome to Property Matters. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Shonagh and Danielle from Bespoke Design Interiors based in Glasgow. Thanks for coming along, ladies.
Thanks for having us. Thank you for having us, yes.
I'm really looking forward to today because I love beautiful homes, but mine probably isn't up to that scratch yet. So I wanted to have a chat today about your design background, your business, what kind of services you provide, and then after that we can talk about how that would be helpful to people within the property sector. So if you want to give me a bit of an overview of the company and what's happening, that'd be great.
Yeah, so we're obviously an interior design company that does both residential and commercial. The commercial side specialises in service accommodation and boutique hotels, and residential is just giving you that luxury into your home, but your sanctuary and cosy fit to how you want to live your life. That's what we focus on. That's we like to make sure that your home feels like your home and not overstyled for something that you can't feel comfortable in when it's your space.
Yeah, it's nice to go to a beautiful hotel, but it's not quite the same as being in your own surroundings, is it? So that turning the home into something that feels luxurious is a nice balance.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we cater for all needs and listen to what the client actually wants rather than what we feel we impose. We'll guide and give different styles and things, but ultimately we want them to be loving it and ultimately recommending us and happy with the service.
Fab. So if someone has a chosen piece, maybe an inherited piece or a beautiful item that they just want to incorporate into that design, are you able to do that, Danielle, when you do your plans?
Yeah, of course. We love recycled furniture, we love upcycling, and we definitely can do that in our plans. It could be as simple as upholstering a chair your gran used to have. And it's so nice to have that sentimental value in your design for a residential, because it is your home at the end of the day, and it's a nice nod, isn't it, to your family. So we do upholstery and restoration as well. So yeah, we could definitely do that.
Beautiful. So what's the process? If someone is looking at a business, for example, like an SA, so we have explored that ourselves with a few challenges in Scotland, but we're trying to overcome those. But if someone's looking at doing an SA property and they want to be able to appeal to a tourist market, how would you approach that sort of design concept with somebody?
Well, there's obviously a design process that we go through, but with a SA, especially luxury SA, when you're looking at a higher price point in the market, you know, you're wanting to bring in more capital for a night. You know, you want to charge £200-300 a night. The aesthetics has to be pleasing, you know, you have to have it styled properly, the right materials, textures, and that's where we come in. You know, that's how we would guide you and come up with a plan. So we would obviously have our initial consultation and, you know, your company's ethos, or if you're just doing a one-off property that you're wanting a certain look or style for, then we would put together a design and mood board, 3D visual, so it's rendered and you can walk through the property and see exactly what you would be getting. And then the last part's installation. So yeah, that's how we would help you gain that higher, you know, bracket in the market.
And the key to that is we've obviously studied for years, working out what both sides of the market clients are looking for, and because people spend a lot more time in their own home being that more luxurious and cosy, then they expect a higher standard to their SA and boutique hotels, so they're happy to spend that money, but they obviously want it to be at a higher level than their own home is, so that's where they combine with each other.
Absolutely. You want it to be a treat, don't you? And then you may have spent, I don't know, 3,000 or 4,000 on a sofa for your house, but you would expect something better than that if you're paying a premium for it, like a 5-star hotel or a 5-star Airbnb or any other booking platform for that matter. Not careful with Airbnb advertising. So
absolutely.
You talked about the walking through the 3D design piece.
Yeah.
How does that work?
So we'll come up with a 3D visual concept, and your 3D designing, basically I can do it from a floor plan. So if you're buying a property, you have a floor plan and you're maybe doing some renovation work to it, I can then incorporate that into the design. But with our 3D model, I can actually put the textures and the wallpaper and the the types of materials that we're using into the 3D visual. So what you see is what you're about to get. It's absolutely amazing. It's probably my favourite part of it, like creating something in my head, putting it on a computer screen, and then being able to literally see it in front of me once it's installed is just the most exciting part of our job. Like, I love it. It's so good.
How do you see the textures? You just touched on being able to see the texture. How does that sort of interpret
when you
you're doing
render
it?
the 3D? I'm not a technical whiz.
No, that's cool.
But when I render the 3D design, I've already put into the drawing what textures I wanted to use, what kind of wood, what kind of, is it velvet, is it linen, is it cotton? Like, you can see between different textures on the 3D design that is the difference.
Wow.
So if I had a velvet sofa, you'd be able to tell it's a velvet sofa. I mean, I wish you could literally touch it, but until we've installed it, you can't.
So that's where the mood boards back up that, because then you would have all that in along with the 3D render. And what we've found, people appreciate that more, because I'm old school, that I would hand draw it all up till then. And that's fine, but it doesn't give you that impact of the feeling of walking through and seeing, as Danielle says, exactly how it's going to actually look and give you that whole ambience compared to just a sketch.
I think it's hard for people to visualise as well. So with a 3D drawing, if there is an aspect of the design that they're maybe like, I wish that was something else, well, let me show you it as something else, and let me show you it as how we designed it originally, and then we can compare the two, because it's easier to see it rather than thinking about it in your head.
So it becomes more collaborative and much more personalised to the individual person involved as well.
But it's also the practicality, because we've been at a few properties recently, and they've got the kitchen in, for example, prior to us going and designing, and the kitchen looks amazing, but they've not got a single socket. So it's that process as well that we kind of think through, and it's like, yeah, you might have a hot tap, but who doesn't love an air fryer these days? So it's like, where are you plugging that in?
Down at the skirting.
That's it, exactly.
So would you help with somebody if they're planning to do more of a flip? So, you know, a lot of the people that we talk to in property are doing full renovation work. If they were looking at doing new kitchens, new bathrooms, is that something you could sort of say to them, actually, when you're doing that, if your end market is a 350, 500,000 pound property, these are things you need to consider for that luxury end?
100%, because it's also about, it's not just the end market value, it's also who's your target market, so who's going to live in that property, so how would they live, so like social spaces and whatnot, although open plan's amazing and people still want that part in their area, but actually when you speak to people afterwards, they want that social area, but they also want a room that they can still close off if they grow into having a family, or just a quiet space that's out with that open plan socialising.
So your
things
experience
like
of human nature allows you to incorporate that into the design of property spaces, whether it be SA or renovation.
I think that's the most important part of our job, because the design has to work for how you live. You know, you could have this the most beautiful space, it's the most unpractical space, and that's just not going to work, is it?
And that's the same in commercial, because as you say, for flipping, it's like, if you narrow your market because you've just missed that design aspect, then that could be the difference between you selling that for 600,000 quickly, or it's sitting for 6 months, because actually when people walk into it, they're not actually seeing how they can live there.
And it's that hearts and minds piece, isn't it? That if you can't envision yourself in a space when you're looking to purchase, or even when you're online going through the listings of properties to stay in, you're like, well, that's nice, but you know, it feels like it's a bit high end, and I wouldn't want to drop a glass of wine, or like in your mind, you play through the things that would happen potentially on a holiday, and if you can't see it, then you wouldn't want to be in that situation.
Exactly.
So one of the other things we're looking at is how we can make serviced accommodation feel like bespoke hotels, because ultimately they're getting the top prices, and you know, big hotel groups have a big budget for designers and have in-house design teams, but on the smaller scale, if it's serviced accommodation apartments and they've got a lot in a building, or and they want it to have a common theme, or it's a boutique hotel that wants to really stand out, how can you support people in that sector?
So there's different price brackets that comes down to for the cost of fabrics, the cost of materials, as well as the furniture pieces that you put in. So we have various ranges to accommodate this, because there's obviously your high end, then your middle of the road, and then your residential budget. So we do accommodate all areas to suit every budget, and it just means, because we do like the fact that everyone should be able to afford at some level to have something nice, to whether it's a staycation or out and about.
I love that, making design accessible to people at all levels, regardless of where they're starting from.
Yeah,
Absolutely. But if you are looking for the higher end bracket for boutique hotels, where you're going for something a wee bit more different, it's not your standard generic hotel setup. They can be quirky. You know, that's where the whole design and the theme comes into it for boutique hotels. It's amazing. You know, you see these hotels and they've got a bathtub in the middle of the room and it's copper or gold, and you know they're really flamboyant, or they're really patterned, that kind of thing. So we love working on things like that. That's a creative side for us, and obviously that is a higher bracket in the market. But like Shonagh says, we do cater for all brackets.
So how do you work when someone says, you know, I love your design, but I'm going to go to Next or somewhere and I'm going to just buy, whether it be a business or an independent, or I'm going to go to the charity shop and I'm going to renovate something myself. Like, how do you approach those conversations with people as to why they might fall in love with design but decide to put budget ahead of it?
I think that's where, so Next was probably, as an example, was one of the ones that first started doing room sets in their bigger showrooms. So a lot of clients, especially in the residential side, can't visualise. So that's where they would, for a long time, they would walk in, see it laid out for what room they were looking for, and think, yes, that's what I'm having, because I can see it. So that's where, but that means that every other house next door to you might have the same. So
all your pals have got exactly the same furniture.
So it really boils down to
There's new builds and new
whether,
kitchen.
it's the same with new builds. You get 8 choices, and they'll all go for the generic worktop and unit that they think match, rather than mix it up. So it's just whether that's what you're happy with. But at the end of the day, most people nowadays want that wee bit different, want to stand out, want to be proud of their home.
I think a lot more people spend a lot more time in their home now. They work from home. You know, the world has changed after COVID. Should we say that word?
Yes.
But, you know, life is different now. A lot of people work from home. If not, they're in the office less. They have friends round more. They're not out as much. And I think you need a space that's sociable, that can work, you can work from, but you can also live and be cosy and safe in. And I think getting that right is really important to a lot of people now. And I think that's where the world has changed, and interior design's come into a massive aspect of that now.
Yeah, they don't want to see generic, that they've passed a billboard of an advert of this is what you have, and then you go and see it in every other space. They want it to be their wee sanctuary, and I think that's the difference, and that's what we provide, is that wee uniqueness, but on a budget that suits you.
Yeah. So no names given. What would be like your worst design moment that you've had in the time that you've been in business?
Worst design? Oh, well, again, it was years. One of them years ago, a client
What's she going to say?
had said, I'll give the basic. Well, there's 2 stories. One is on a design perspective. A client, when the first time around, when floral was all in, which again, I love floral, but in pieces. But this client was, I want a floral carpet, I want the floral wallpaper, I want the curtains, I want the headboard, everything. I was
that was before my time then.
Yes. And I was like, you're not going to find the door out the bedroom. This was their bedroom. So it's just managing those expectations of saying flowers are beautiful, but I think we'll just tone it down a bit. So in those circumstances, I would say, let's do the feature wall in the floral, for argument's sake, at that stage, and a plain headboard, possibly the floral in the curtains, and again leave the carpet plainer, just to balance it out. But what it meant was, when we did change it to that, the client was still like, oh, I decided to still wallpaper all the walls. And then once they did it, they were like, you were right, I can't sleep at night. So they had to wait. But if they'd listened in the first place, I was still giving them the floral, they would have saved themselves a lot of money rather than pay twice. I mean, that's what we like as well. It's like, you might pay more in certain things, but at the end of the day, you're paying once and it'll last. And that's your quality. The other funny story, which is a funny story.
That was your professional story.
That was my professional story.
I was about to say, that wasn't the story I was thinking you were
My
going to
funny
tell.
story years ago again, a client, I'd gone and fitted curtains and blinds for her. And she came into the shop. My mum was working for me back then. And she said, I want to speak to the owner. And my mum went, well, that's my daughter. And can I help you? And she went, oh, I'm not happy. And my mum instantly, being my mum, if you ever meet her, brutal, was like, oh, what's Shonagh done wrong? And the woman was like, my mum went, are you not happy with the curtains? Is something not... the woman went, no, I love them. It's wonderful. My mum went, okay, so what's your problem? And the woman went, she smiles too much. Nobody is that happy in their job and whatnot. And my mum being my mum, turned around and went, well, she's intruding on your space, so would you not rather somebody came in that's happy and does actually love what she does than come in with a face on her? And the woman was like, oh, but I just don't think that's natural. And my mum went, well, I hope to God that you're not the person that knocks that out of her and she's still that happy person, because that genuinely is her. That client's still a client today, 20 years on.
Amazing.
And she now says, I appreciate your smile.
And God bless your mum for saying that. Like, no, my daughter needs to be happy.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest things I get from being around the two of you. You bounce off each other and you have so much joy and fun together. And I think your clients probably really appreciate that. And that might be one of the reasons that you do have those 20-year plus clients. Because you guys are so much fun to be around.
Yeah. Thank you.
It must feel like a party.
To be fair, we can be a wee bit more inappropriately funny, to the point where a client had to come in and ask us if we were actually okay, because we had given up at this point in this installation stage, that we were like, do you know when you're just laughing to the point where you can't breathe, you're just like,
It's almost a sob.
it's kind of a sob, but it was just like, I can't get off the floor, you can't get off the floor, I can see us like rolling out of here, and he's like, are you still okay? We were making so much noise, we were just like, yeah, kind of, but you know, he's a good client too, so yeah.
And is a lot of your clients that situation where they've had you coming into their homes for a number of years? You get to see their kids growing up. It feels very much like an extension of your.
I mean, more so Shonagh, because obviously she's older than me. But
Thanks, pal.
No, I mean, I've been with you 13 years, and I've seen. I mean, clients come back time and time again. I can't believe how big their kids get, and then you're like, what? They finished like high school now, and one's driving, and you're just like, when did that happen?
Yeah, but what's nice is we do remember them. So it's like we're going, and I'm like, we were at a client last week, and I said, oh my goodness, I said, one of your children must be graduating school by now, and the other one was like, and she was like, oh my God, how do you remember that? That was 10 years ago you were in our house. And I said, because I remember the space, I remember what you wanted designed in it, and it happened to be the daughter's room at the time was one of the spaces. So I was like, yeah, it's just, and that's the nice thing, because it does then feel, I mean, we feel like a family, and we give off that aura of wanting to connect as well with the client.
It's even better when the kids have disappeared, and the rooms that you used to do for the kids are now rooms that they want done for different spaces.
Yes.
It's in my room.
It's
There's
at my
finally no
room.
kids in the house.
Yes.
They're away and they're not coming back.
Yeah.
Poor kids, poor kids.
That's it. The growth in, instead of man caves, it's now women caves.
Yeah. She sheds
She sheds.
in the house.
So what is your worst design moment? So either you walked into a space and were like, oh my God, how can I do anything with this? Or your worst moment with a client who had a very fixed opinion on design and that you knew definitely wasn't going to work?
They always change their mind in the end though. But I have had a few, but here's the problem. My face can't lie. So I struggle to tell someone the truth without my face telling it to them first. But I do remember in the shop, we had just upholstered this beautiful chair. And I'm quite a loud person anyway, energetic, if you will. I'm a Gemini, we've got problems, it's fine. But this chair was velvet and it had this gorgeous design through it, and we just finished it, and it was just, we put it out in the front shop and we'd painted the legs on it and everything. It was just lovely. It was ready to go to clients. And this man came in and he ran his fingers along the full top of this Parker Knoll chair that we just finished, and then decided to proceed to do that. And now, if you know anything about velvet, when you touch it the wrong way, the pile runs.
Yeah.
So you mark it. And so he'd run his hand along the top and then ran his hands down the arms and sat in it. Well, I don't think I've ever shouted so loudly or abruptly at an old man in my life, to the point where I had to go through the back and was like, you have to deal with him, you have to deal with him, I can't breathe. I was literally
It was one of those slow motion moments.
I was
So
like,
she was like, yeah.
That was my worst experience. I literally thought that day I was going to have a heart attack.
So it's your worst experience within your role that you've had in the time that you've been there, and do you still put stuff in the shop?
Yeah, but put signs on them, do not sit there.
Yeah.
So you learn from it. You
I
learn from
learned,
it.
yeah, there was a lesson there. The poor chair didn't know what was happening, but you know. And it was just because it was such a beautiful piece, and it was this gorgeous velvet, and it did mark. Mm-hmm. And it was a showpiece. It wasn't to be sat on.
To be
Even
fair,
in the client's house, they knew like this. They were
was
like,
a
"That's
feature chair.
just a feature chair. No one will ever sit in that."
To be
and we were
fair,
like, "Okay, that's fine then."
I'd also think that was your first completed upholstery job that I'd trained you on.
Mm-hmm.
So you were so proud of it as well, of the outcome.
That wasn't a seat pad, you know, like just plotting
I'd
out seat pads.
upgraded her to a full
Like
chair.
she let me do the chair, and I was like, oh, I'm so proud of this chair. It looks amazing. That fabric's gorgeous. I was taking pictures of it, and I literally just put it through the front shop, and I walked through to the back. In our shop, there's a wee bell, so you ding when someone comes in. So I turned to go back, and here he is with his grubby hands all over my chair.
I've got such an image of a man on a chair
know,
now.
that's it.
And he just like, I did shout at him. I did.
Did you
Get
say
off
sorry?
that chair! No! Like
No
running at
apologies?
this old man, and he was like, "Lovely chair." And I was like,
He's like, so sorry. Where can I
He
sit?
didn't go up.
He's like, I've got a minute now.
Did he buy it?
No, it was for my other client.
It was for a client because it was their chair?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So yeah, signs now say do not sit.
Do not
if
sit
it's
in anything in our shop.
Yeah. Unless invited.
We probably don't own it.
True.
We've just upholstered it. So yeah, that was probably the worst. That's the one that's etched in my brain, that I'm just like, well, one, you didn't hide your face. Two, you were quite rude to the poor man. And three, I can still feel the heart palpitations when he sat on that chair.
Oh.
So yeah, that was
So
that.
it's haunting you.
It's
travelling it.
yeah, it's a moment of hot. Like I dream about that. Gives me nightmares.
Oh no.
Because we had to steam it all afterwards to fix
get it
the
back.
pile.
My first beautiful chair.
So you talked about the shop. So if
Yeah.
someone was going to come and see you guys, where would they find you?
So we are on 277 Clarkston Road.
I thought you were going to forget the address there. I thought you'd been there for 25 years.
Which is the south side of Glasgow. So huge big sign saying Bespoke Design and Interiors. And it's on the main road and G44 3DT. And it's a front shop, and we've got the workshop through the back, which you can have a mini tour, which takes all of 5 minutes.
Probably can't get round it with the amount of work you've got going on.
To see that we do exactly what it says in the tin. We do make it ourselves.
But we do travel, so we're we're not stuck in Clarkston.
No.
We've done jobs in London.
We're about to go to Cyprus.
About to go to Cyprus on another job. The islands.
And all the islands as well around Scotland.
Yeah, so there's been a number of places that we've done different jobs. And we have 2 full warehouses full of furniture and room sets that we can take our clients to so that they can see things in real time.
And visualise before you're at the 3D drawing stage. So that helps as well.
So lots of opportunity in person and digitally to be able to really understand how you can help transform a space.
Absolutely.
And how you can work with your clients. And you touched on the travel. So I know you've got something coming up in Cyprus, which is amazing.
Yeah, we're excited.
And Craig and I visited Dubai earlier this year, and I said to you, I could absolutely see you guys over in Dubai doing styling.
Love to do that.
What is the plans for the future in terms of the work that you want to be doing and where you're going to be doing those things?
We certainly want to grow the business, and we're working on a new concept right now. We won't say too much about it, but it's really exciting. A lot of sensory and experience to do with this design concept. There's going to be 4 designs. So that's where we're focusing on right now. That's the background work we're doing. Of course, Bespoke Design Interiors will still be running as usual, but we would love to grow into a more commercial market of this concept, this one concept that we're bringing in to define what we do in interior design.
For boutique hotels and luxury serviced accommodation, which can take us all around the world. We're happy to travel.
Amazing. I feel like I need to join the team. Happy to
That's
travel.
it.
I'm just going to put that on my statement. And I think, we'll obviously get you back when you're able to talk more about that. And you've shared a little bit off camera, so I'm very excited about what's coming. And I think the SA market specifically has a big place for those that want to stay in luxury, want to be at that high end and pay, as you said, that 300 to 500 or more a night.
yeah.
But to get that, you can't buy something off the high street and put it in.
I mean, I think, you could, but, you're going to replace it quite quickly. You're not going to get the same aesthetics as you would get from someone that's would professionally install this for you. And I do think that if you want to excel your business, especially in the serviced accommodation industry, and you want the top price on the market a night per room or per property that you really do have to spend that wee bit extra and put the quality in.
Yeah. And in terms of quality, how long, because you touched about earlier, Shonagh, that someone had curtains for 10 years and then they wanted another replacement pair.
Yeah.
But they've obviously done other rooms in the house in that interim, so they've stayed a client for a while.
Yeah.
How long do the products last, I guess, if you are investing that extra at that moment in time?
So normally it's a 5-year turnaround on the commercial side. You would get the 10-year, but normally you would get the 10 years in the furniture, but the furnishings and whatnot, normally it's more about updating them rather than them needing to be updated. So although that client and they did last in the quality, they wanted to refresh. So yeah, that's between 5 and 10 years. So the average hotel used to be 10 years they would refresh, is now between 5 and 7 years, just to keep updated and to the style that people are wanting as phases change. But that's why it's more a classical style that is timeless, but just with the extra perks with it, and also the ethos behind it, because our fabrics and furnishings are sustainable and recycle and as much as possible. So
We try and be as eco-friendly as we possibly can.
And it's a big thing now. You know,
Huge.
I had a recent conversation with a big national, and they talked about they give green points to their hosts.
Yeah.
And that's going to be something they do a lot more of going forward. And it's around the market is starting to demand to know things like that. So they're wanting to be able to say they've got natural fibres, they've got good fabrics, they've got refurnished. They want to be able to give that credit along with energy usage and other things that are happening in those properties to show that you staying there isn't costing the environment, especially if you're spending the money and time in your own home, to make sure you're not impacting it there.
Yeah.
I think
Absolutely.
You've got a great opportunity there to support them, because you just don't know.
No, you don't.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Even a label saying something's good doesn't mean it was good.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Well, it's even, you know, before it was with the upholstery, things, when that first started, it's like your basic fire retardant. Well, when things were imported and not made, or if they were just reupholstered, people wouldn't choose anything that met British standards. So a lot went through, and then tragedy would strike, and even in the commercial side. So we've always prided ourselves on making sure that we are up to date and got the stamps on everything, and anything, even if we've restored it, it will still have the stamp that this covers every category, which obviously in today's age, that's what you want to make sure you've got, and then you've got peace of mind. So I wouldn't sleep at night if I knew I'd put out something that, God forbid, a candle lights or something, then so that side as well.
And that's how we make everything ourselves. So everything's made in-house. You know, we don't put it out to anyone. So we can control the quality of the work that we put out as well, which is kind of rare in that industry.
Exactly. So we do exactly what it says in the tin.
I love that. So it just makes me think of biscuits. So now I'm getting peckish and thinking we need a cup of tea and a biscuit. But I think it is that piece for me around authenticity. You guys are beautiful people, but actually the pride you put in the work that you do and the delivery that you give to your clients is what makes you stand out within the industry. You're not there saying you need to spend $5,000 on that because that's going to be the most trendy thing. If it doesn't fit with the property, it doesn't fit with the owner, and it isn't going to really resemble them when you've left. You've always based it on the conversations we've had around how can I help someone's home be elevated and be better, not how can I wipe them out.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not about what our style is in interior design. It's about our clients and how they live and how they would feel comfortable in their home. That's their safe space, and you want it to feel safe. You want it to be luxurious. You want to be able to relax. You want to be able to party. You want to have kids. You don't want to be like, don't touch my sofa, don't do this, don't do that, it cost me $5,000. Oh my Jesus Christ. I mean, I remember growing up, my nan would make us sit in a towel with your jeans on and our white leather sofa because, you know, you can sit. I mean, her house is beautiful. It was stunning, and maybe that's where it came from with me. But honestly, how do you live your life like that? Wait, put a towel down before the grandkids sit down. You know, you don't want that. You want to live your life. So we take all of that into consideration when we're doing work for people. So,
I love that memory from you.
Yeah, but
I actually remember one of my aunts had plastic covering on the front lounge and it only got taken off when you were allowed to go in there. And the rest of the time it was covered up.
She's smart. That one was smart.
So, you know, times have changed. Design is for every day. It's not just the best. And you know, with one life and one way to live it.
I mean, don't get me wrong, you can have a good room that the kids don't get into. I understand that. But, you know...
Or the dog sometimes.
Or the dog, yeah, definitely. The one that likes muddy puddles especially. But, you know, your house is for living in. I think a lot more people live in their homes now than, you know, than they did before.
And I think because people are more socials, you want the fact that take me as you find me. You don't want that panic of... oh my God, this has to be like a show home every single day. You can have that quality, but it's comfort and cosy and welcoming. I mean, I've always lived like that anyway. As anyone that knows me will know that. It's like, I should have that mat that says nobody gets out sober, but it's like, welcome. These are the rules. Enjoy yourself, relax, chill. take a drink.
That's very Scottish.
Yeah.
The first one will be poured, the rest you can do yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's definitely no ceremony. It's like open house. Come on
Absolutely.
in.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
and that's a great concept for sort of the essay side for you guys.
Yeah.
Is, you know, making essays accessible, making them feel like you could walk in, you've just got there, but it still feels like home.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
You know.
Amazing.
So thank you so much for joining me today. I think
Thanks
that's
for
been
Thank you for
everything
having us.
for this
It's been
time
a
round.
pleasure. Yeah.
Definitely we'll have you guys back, and I think we'll be launching some in-person events soon, and we'll invite you along to those as well.
I would love to
Amazing.
come. That would be so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So that's a secret though. Well, that's me in trouble.
Oh,
So in
Sneaky
August
peeks.
we'll have some events.
giving me the secrets already.
I know.
Michelle.
A little bit. So thank you so much for tuning in to this Property Matters. We look forward to welcome you on the next one soon.